To love life is to notice the wonders that abound. To notice the wonders that abound is to be grounded here and now. To be grounded here and now is the beginning of finding love for this life, today and in each and every moment. Come, let us worship together.
Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Unitarian Universalist Church of Berkeley. My name is Sarah Ward, and I am today's worship associate. This is a welcoming congregation. We are always working on ways to welcome and care for one another better. Whoever you are, we welcome you in the fullness of who you are. Please take a moment now to prepare yourself and your space for our time together. Grab a candle and a way to light it so you can join in our chalice lighting from home. And now, whether you are lighting a candle or the inner chalice in your heart, let us kindle our flame with the words from Betz Winnecke. May this flame, symbol of transformation since time began, fire our curiosity, strengthen our wills, and sustain our courage as we seek what is good within and around us.
Today is the second Sunday of Advent, the season in the Christian calendar that begins the fourth Sunday before Christmas and ends on Christmas Eve. Advent means waiting, and traditionally Advent is a season of preparation and anticipation as Christians wait for the commemoration of the birth of Christ. As Unitarian Universalists, Advent asks us, what are we waiting for and preparing for in our own lives and in the world? In this season of long nights, Advent invites us to explore the themes of hope, peace, joy, and love. On this second Sunday of Advent, we light a candle for peace. And I ask you, what seeds of peace are growing within you? What seeds of peace are starting and sprouting in your soul? May the light of this wreath of these candles help us bring more peace into the world. Now please join in singing our opening song, Over My Head. The words will be on screen.
And now please join with me in saying our covenant. Love guides this church. The quest for truth and justice is its common purpose. To give thanks, listen deeply, speak with care, honor our differences, and seek and grant forgiveness. These things we covenant with one another.
In I see a lifetime in this place. I feel at ease. Wallpaper peeling, paint wearing thin. Here's where I end and begin. I don't need a roof to know I'm covered. I don't need a roof to know I'm home. There could be one single shingle dangling overhead. I don't need a roof to make my bed. Close your eyes, I'm here beside you. No goodbyes needed today. Hear what the rain says, know what it knows. After the rain, something grows. I don't need a roof to say I love you. I don't need a roof to know you're mine. I don't need adventure in some faraway frontier. I don't need a roof to feel you near. All I need is you and you forever. All I feel is true and absolute. I don't need a legal deed to help me play my part. I don't need a roof to hold my heart. Stay with me. Stay with me.
Did you guys feel that? The chill in the air? The coldness of December. It looks like winter is coming. And that means holidays are coming. And that means lots of fun and lots of things to do. And lots of toys and presents to wrap and siblings to look after and so much more that even the smallest of us, the youngest of us, can feel overwhelmed or like this excitement is a lot. Sometimes we need to take a breath and remember the stillness of this season. So today, friends, I have an activity for my friends of all ages. This is a meditation that you can use to help you remember the stillness in this season of extreme fun, extreme busyness. Now, this comes from my friend Samuel. So, in your mind's eye, you can imagine that you have this candle, this beautiful light. Just take a breath with me. And in your mind's eye, you can think in this time of long nights and short days, let us seek this light within by contemplating through our imagination the image of this candle flame. Notice how soft and quiet this flame gently rises from the wick, and that this flame has the power to become a raging bonfire to light up the night. And we let this little candle in our mind's eye be our friend. We sit there and watch it and allow it to quiet our minds as we just watch the light flow. Watching the candle, allow it to calm your mind. Breathing in and feeling that stillness, a peaceful stillness that can light up the inside of your body, that can help you find the source of your feelings inside. Allow it to show you your inner sense of knowing that can help us notice the way where we may have hurt our friends or our families. Noticing how it warms us, how it feels like the love we feel from our friends and our families, feels like the love we have in our heart, and it inspires us to make new friends and to go out into the world with love. May this simple flame in your mind's eye, whenever you need it, touch that dry twig of the season that sometimes guards our hearts, and allow the power of this bright, bright brilliance to pierce us and warm us and fill us with stillness in this time. Dear friends, thank you. In Celebration Chapel today, I invite all of my friends, young and old, to join us for a ukulele jam. It's going to be awesome. If you need the link, please shoot me an email, family.ministry@uucb.org. Thank you.
I can't claim that my senses of awe and wonder have been super sharp these past however many months. There are not very many new faces and places in my routine. The allure of some early quarantine activities like noticing walks and appreciating the time spent in the comfort of your home, that has mostly worn off, for me at least. We're in the darkest days of the year. COVID winter is coming. And time has felt less structured and stimulating and more like this endless amorphous blob of working, eating, and sleeping. Maybe you've felt this way at certain points as well. But with the longer nights and more time spent at home, I have had more of a chance to introspect. I've sort of been forced to re-encounter what it is that grounds me and keeps me sane at a basic level. Sort of my spiritual center. And when I really search, I can find it. It's still there. It will always be there. It is, for me, an unshakable and boundless source of awe and intrigue and even purpose. And it shows itself everywhere if you know what to look for. My favorite play is called Arcadia. It's by Tom Stoppard. I went to see the Shotgun Players production of it last year. In one of the early scenes in the play, a precocious little girl asks her teacher about a commonplace occurrence. She says, "When you stir your rice pudding, the spoonful of jam spreads itself around, making red trails like the picture of a meteor in my astronomical atlas. But if you stir backward, the jam will not come together again. Indeed, the pudding does not notice and continues to turn pink just as before. Do you think this is odd?" Her teacher replies, "No." And she says, "Well, I do. You cannot stir things apart." What this girl notices in her dessert is a manifestation of the second law of thermodynamics. This tells us that the universe tends towards disorder, decay, and equilibrium. Heat spreads itself out and goes to cold. It's a one-way street. A hot cup of tea will tend towards the same temperature as the room it is in. But what's happening to your tea is happening to everything everywhere, even the sun and the stars. Our universe as a whole is fairly hot and dense at this moment, all things considered. But the second law tells us that it must expand. Nothing can break this force. Stars burn out, even black holes evaporate eventually. As a side note here, if you've never read The Last Question by Isaac Asimov, do yourself the favor of reading it, or read it again if it's been a while. It's only 9 pages long, and it just explained everything for me. So, okay, along with this universal tendency towards expansion, heat expanding to cold, is an equal tendency towards evenness in the universe and sort of pouringness. In other words, high entropy. Entropy, although it's often equated to how orderly something is actually more of a measure of the boringness of a system, the commonness of the arrangement of particles therein. And just as heat expands to cold, unmixed goes to mixed, like the rice pudding. Interesting arrangements, like the swirls of a jam before mixing, or all the matter in the observable universe being crunched into a tiny space, those are low entropy. They're highly specific configurations that almost never happen by chance. As time goes on, the second law tells us that the universe will only get more boring. But there is one type of system that seems to resist the second law of thermodynamics and maintain low entropy. That system, of course, is life. Life has a very low internal entropy because its structure is extremely specific and non-random. The molecular machinery of even a single cell defies belief. Think of each cell. Inside each one is a packed up little helical cord of DNA containing hundreds of megabytes of data. This DNA, this code, asserts over and over again that you will not, in fact, be boring. You will be you instead. That DNA, when decoded, gives rise to an ensemble of tiny shapes, proteins, whose geometric beauty is the stuff of art, literally. Leonardo da Vinci created a series of sketches of polyhedrons amongst his many sketches and creations, and I assume at the time he thought they were just elegant shapes. Unbeknownst to him, those very shapes in the form of a protein called clathrin were spontaneously assembling inside each one of his cells, literally enabling his hands to move as he sketched. Not only is life stunningly complex in itself, but that complexity can and does increase over extremely long timescales, as it has been doing between when the first single-celled organisms wiggled around in some aquatic environment all the way to our current mesmerizingly complex biosphere. There is, however, a cost to this complexity. Life acts to reduce its own internal entropy by increasing the net entropy of its surroundings. The cost of doing business, the cost of making life happen, is an output of chaotic heat. So in some ways, we serve to further the overarching trend of increasing the disorder of the universe. In this process of redistributing energy in the most random possible state, life represents a little pocket or whorl of order. Just a temporary resistance to randomness within a larger picture that is beyond our control. So maybe this actually doesn't sound so uplifting, like we're nothing but this accidental pocket of orderliness, or we're not really supposed to exist, or even that our life activities only ultimately serve to exacerbate the progress towards heat death of the universe. Not the most likely source of a spiritual grounding or spiritual center, but even if this is so, I see our life force, the sum total of our metabolic activity and our ability to temporarily resist progress towards high entropy. I see it as a miracle and also as a purpose. A miracle because each of us asserts themselves every passing moment as taking part, being of, by, and for this life force. We do things just by living to the raw materials of our earth that are so strange and fly in the face of a tendency towards randomness. We take inert materials like oxygen, sugars, lipids, and we rearrange them and make them into ourselves. We assert our existence over and over again, every breath, every turn of our metabolism. Our life force pushes against the grain of these larger tides and forces of the universe. Our existence is a physical and metaphysical miracle. It just is. And from there, oddly, a sense of purpose. That we ought to use this life force, this unlikely pocket of hoarded energy. We ought to use it in whatever way we can to help ourselves and each other to build and learn and grow and do what we are good at. And what we're good at is fighting back passionately against the universe that tells us gradual decay is inevitable. Even if that is ultimately true, it seems to me that the fighting back in and of itself is the most human thing, the most alive thing possible that we could possibly do. And it's what unites us with every creature on the planet. So, yeah, that will always do it for me. Just in being alive, I feel like we are so badass. Even if I usually lose sight of this fact when I'm in sweatpants and staring at a screen all day. As we worship today, let us remember that we need not be Leonardo da Vinci to be worthy of the sacred, odds-defying life force within each of us. May it be so.
Amen.
We now enter the time in our service that we make for our hearts and our spirits, for our cares and concerns for one another and the vulnerable places within ourselves. We lift up and hold the joys, the sorrows, the cares, concerns, and challenges that we may each be carrying. During our time of silence this morning, I invite you to share any joys or sorrows or significant milestones of your own in the comments section. I invite us all to hold these cares in the compassionate embrace of this loving community. Please join me now in the spirit of prayer. Mystery of the universe, you who some think of not as a being among other beings, but as the very ground of being itself, thank you for this day, for another sunrise, for another chance for us to witness the wonders of creation. We know that creation is truly double-edged, a yin-yang universe, for it is indeed one in which life-giving flame can also burn. But it is also one in which the cold, dark, misting rain gives rebirth to the spring. And it is one in which, paradoxically, our acquaintance with pain and sorrow also help us better appreciate pleasure and joy. Help us then to have the courage and strength to embrace it all, to embrace what is. Help us, we who are similarly double-edged, whose love for those closest to us can so easily provoke our own tribal instincts and prejudices, whose own pain, rather than fostering empathy or compassion, may turn us inward to dig moats, build walls, rather than bridges. Help us embrace this double-edged yin-yang universe with courage and strength. But above all, help us to do it in the spirit of love and compassion. For this, it seems, is our eternal challenge, and it is also the wellspring of our eternal salvation. Amen. Let us join now in singing Bright Morning Stars. The words will be displayed on screen.
This is The Duck of Enlightenment by Kathleen McTeague. One spring afternoon, I went home a little early so I could claim an hour of study time before my children got home. As I opened the door, I was greeted by both cats, which was a little odd because they usually don't condescend to notice our coming and going unless it's dinner time. One of them promptly opened the open door, and while the other wrapped himself persistently around my legs. As I stood puzzling over this behavior, at the edge of my vision, I caught a sudden motion in the family room, where there should be no motion at all in this empty house. With the hair raising up on the back of my neck, I slowly moved into the house and rounded the corner of the room. And then I saw it. There was a duck in the family room. A wild brown duck. A live duck in the family room. My brain actually stopped completely for a couple of heartbeats. What should the brain do with such an unexpected sight? I stood there in the doorway and said out loud, "There is a duck in the family room." Although this would help me believe. None of the windows were open, the doors were properly closed, and the duck was huddled in a far corner of the room next to a clutter of books and DVDs, radiating the hope that if she kept perfectly still, I wouldn't see her. Carefully, I caught her up, a small wood duck, female, her heart tapping frantically against my hands, and carried her outside. I looked at her, full of wonder for this little visitation, and then I opened my hands, and she leapt up into the air, a great arc of liberation, and beat her wings in a straight line of escape all the way to the horizon. I went back inside to investigate the breach of the household security, and within a few minutes the mystery was explained. A trail of ashes had spilled from the fireplace, and here and there on the wall and the ceiling I saw soot in little feather-shaped impressions where the duck had thrown herself up towards the light. It all made sense now, how a duck could become standing in the middle of my house, and I felt lucky in those few breaths that my linear deductive mind had been shocked into silence. When something tumbles us into a state of wonder, the unexpected quiet in our heads is like a window flung open onto the world. Instead of routine, predictable story that we live each day, there is something new under the sun, and surprised, out of our minds for a moment, we actually see. Startled awake, we receive what is in front of us, simple, astounding, and unedited. And afterward, basking in the dazzlement of my visitor, it occurred to me that it really shouldn't require a duck in the family room to awaken my sense of wonder. Isn't that same lovely little wood duck just as wondrous, just as worthy of my awe and my open and grateful heart when she is out in the woods where she belongs? The real miracle is not that her frightened heart beat against my hands for a moment, but that her heart beats at all. That her heart beats, and that my hands can hold, and that my eyes can see.
How often do you feel wonder or awe? What sorts of things bring a sense of wonder to you? The Greater Good Science Center here in Berkeley came up with a quiz to help determine how awe-oriented you might be. And isn't it fabulous that there are quizzes for stuff like this? So I'm going to read some of their statements, and I invite you to think about how true each statement is for you. And of course, the greater number of statements, the more that are true, the more awe-oriented you are. So for the first statement, I'm fascinated by people, music, art, or nature that evokes a sense of wonder in me. I seek out experiences that are unpredictable or out of my comfort zone, and experiences that challenge my understanding of the world. I look for moments that inspire awe in me. I often get surprised or moved by things I see or experience. I have a positive emotional connection with nature. When I see someone do something incredible, I feel tingles down my spine. When I see natural beauty, I feel like a child who is awestruck. I take many experiences to explore the beauty of nature. I can easily think of someone who impresses me or inspires me. I often marvel at how amazing it is to be alive. And I often feel what can only be described as childlike wonder. Okay, were a number of these statements true for you? Or maybe even very true? Or perhaps they were not as true for you. Wonder and awe can be such a weird and slippery thing, and how we express it changes over time and changes with age also. Have you ever seen these itty-bitty frogs jumping around in the grass? They're like bean-sized, and I can really only describe them as froglets. I think they're adorable, and when I see them, I'll be squatting down, following them around and giggling, while thinking that little part of my brain that's outside of myself then thinks I look like a complete childish nut at anyone who sees me, whatever age they might be. But this is what I mean when I say childlike wonder, and I'm afraid that we so often lose it when we turn into proper grown-up adults, or at least think that we lose it, and maybe we're afraid to let it out in public. What brings you wonder? And what gets in the way of your experiencing wonder? Wonder and awe are actually distinct emotions from the other standard emotions. They are their own set of emotions. So I don't know if you've ever seen the movie Inside Out. You've got the different characters, the emotion characters in the movie: joy, sadness, anger, fear, and disgust. So when they were putting together and researching for this movie, they based it on psychological research on the core emotions. And actually, when they were putting it together, there were actually 6 emotions, not 5. But then they decided it would make for a simpler cast and a simpler script if they combined that 6th one with fear. That 6th one that they decided to combine away was surprise. And I think that with the feelings around unexpected moments and mysteries are really what is all about wonder. Wonder, awe, and surprise. And I think something got lost when they decided to just merge it in with fear. It kind of matches, because the wonder part of surprise is what got lost when that happened. Here's one possible definition for awe. This is from Dasher Keltner. Awe, they say, is the feeling we get in the presence of something vast that challenges our understanding of the world, like looking up at millions of stars in the night sky, or marveling at the birth of a child. When people feel awe, they may use other words to describe the experience as well: wonder, amazement, surprise, or transcendence. Now, there are some of the bigger touchstone kinds of moments of wonder that many folks may describe as awe and wonder inspiring. The birth of a child, all of pregnancy for that matter. Well, at least all of pregnancy, minus a few of the less comfortable aspects, like that morning sickness that happens all day, not just mornings. Yeah, minus that out. Many folks find wonder when looking at deep space photos. Then there are the less common astrological events that also bring about a sense of wonder usually. The Sputnik satellite first going across the night sky, Halley's Comet, asteroid showers, the video feed of the first human steps on the moon, even seeing the northern lights. And also one of these not so common experiences, but we actually just got it a few years back, the total solar eclipse. I wasn't expecting wonder when I took a trip to be able to be in the path of totality when it happened a few years ago. I just thought it would be super cool to experience, and I wanted to be there because the geek part of myself wouldn't not be there. And yes, it was super cool and exciting. And the excitement mounted as the moon made its way into position. But I didn't expect what happened next. I'm even getting goosebumps as I'm describing it to you right now. As the moon covered up the sun, and we all took off our protective glasses because at that point we could look at it with our bare eyes, I found tears flowing down my cheeks. Yes, they were tears of joy and excitement, but what they really were was tears of wonder. I found that I couldn't form words and was just audibly gasping in awe and amazement. I sat there nearly breathless during the entire time of totality and was nearly paralyzed there in the grass for the next 20 minutes as everyone else was packing up. I was still just absorbed by the moment of that experience. And I wasn't the only one either. The sounds people were making all around me while we sat there in that period of totality totally confirmed that, because they couldn't form words either. It was some form of wonder for folks all the way around. Did you know that there are folks who chase total eclipses? They plan trips and cruises, usually cruises because they're usually over the ocean. They plan these to be able to get into the path of totality. The experiences are that powerful. The next one to hit the US mainland is in 2024, and I know that I'll be there, and I bet there'll be a lot of other folks there too. It is that an amazing of an experience. But it also speaks to the process of seeking out things that bring us wonder. Knowing what kinds of things lift us from our mundane moments, from our mundane days, things that challenge our understanding of the world in some fundamental way. Moments that take our breath away. It's knowing what sorts of things these might be for you, and then seeking them out. And also noticing when these breathtaking, wonder-filled moments do happen around you. And then we also talk about what gets in the way of our experiencing and finding wonder. And one of those things that gets in the way is complacency. So I want to tell you a story about a flash of green. Not just, though. I was spending the summer in Nicaragua a number of years back, the land of many volcanoes, volunteering with a service and development group from North Carolina that was doing work in the community in and around the capital city of Managua. Going to different locations in the community, we would frequently get into the group's rather well-kept pickup truck, with me driving, by the way, driving down sometimes marginally paved roads, dodging the cows that also frequently populated the road. I marveled at the many new things to see, like the active volcanoes we would pass that would actually be expelling smoke some days, and the different feel of all the plants and animals. But there was one thing in particular. Now, you know how when you'll see a small flock of birds start for some reason, maybe all sitting in a tree or a group of trees, and then all take off in some loose cloud at the same time? I bet that, like me, when you see them in your mind, they are black or dark in color, or maybe a huge bunch of whitish gray geese. But when I saw them in Nicaragua's countryside, they weren't. They were green. They were bright green because they were parrots. A bunch of brilliant green birds with some flashes of red, blue, and orange mixed in. Wild parrots. It was the coolest thing in the world, and I was just having so much fun noticing it every single time. A flock of wild parrots just flying around. So I can hardly describe the joy and pleasure from this unexpected experience of beauty. Unexpected because it defied the ruts in my mind that imagined bird flocks in a certain way, and totally beautiful in their color and their special place and the beauty of the world. I felt connected with those birds, with the landscape, with the plants, and even the crazy volcanoes. As I was having one of my many happy fits from seeing the flocks, one of the long-term volunteers from our community said this in an absolutely flat voice. Yeah, I got used to it years ago. I don't even see them anymore. I felt totally sad for her. Not that she had to feel that, what I felt, but for her loss. She had been just as excited about them when she had first seen them. But since then, it was lost entirely. The beauty of those marvelous green birds was gone. The wonder of it had left. And this makes me think, what wonder and beauty and mystery have I lost that I once saw but no longer seem to notice? Joy and beauty that have been gone so long that I've already forgotten that I've forgotten them. What gets in the way of remembering? What gets in the way of our experiencing the beauty and wonder of the natural world, or really of anything? The way human brains are wired probably doesn't help us. Our brains tend to remember things that are first and last and unique. So after the newness of an experience, like my parrots, after the newness of the experience wears off, new experiences crowd in, and the brain just can't hold all of that. But you know what? There's more than that. I know I can get so busy and distracted that I forget things that aren't right in front of me, that don't grab my attention and insist that I see them. Yeah, the parrots are cool, but we've got this super important thing that needs to be doing. Focus. And then there is the metaphorical fog, like the light pollution that keeps the naked eye from seeing the stars the same way near a big city as when you're further away. Or even the car windows or train windows between our eyes and the world, or the surface of a television screen through which our experiences may be happening. Are these making our experiences less real, connecting them less with our hearts and dreams, impacting us less because they're dimmer or further away? I hope they're not. My fear is that it's not only forgetting, but it becomes a sense of complacency. Not seeing, not remembering, not even trying to see. And complacency really is never done intentionally. It just creeps in. Those parrots, they just are. I'm used to them. I guess they're just not exciting anymore. I stopped seeing them years ago. This, my friends, is a deeply spiritual issue. Because complacency eats away at our souls like a fog made of acid. Not a very strong acid, because it happens little by little, but acid nonetheless. It just gradually eats away at us and what is so most important to us. Complacency takes away the joy and vitality that the experience of wonder like those parrots could bring. But you know, seeing and remembering, they don't have to be that way, because seeing and remembering are up to us. Seeing beauty in our world, experiencing its mysteries, feeling and finding both the joy and the connections. What's up to us is countering the complacency, first in our own lives and then through our own living. Really, it comes down to some choices we make about how we will go about going through our lives and our experiences. I love the way that Albert Einstein sums this up. He said there are only two ways to live your life. One is as though nothing is a miracle. The other is as though everything is a miracle. Us UUs can get stuck in our own minds way too much, looking for rational explanations of things and rational understandings for how things work. Of course, it's green. Parrots are green. It's just a flock of birds. It's just a little frog. It's just an astronomical feature of the moon going between us and the sun. And folks in ancient times were just weird to think the gods had taken the sun away. Or, yeah, we had a baby. Yeah, I guess it's amazing. We're just tired zombies of parents now. That's one of the ways we can live our lives, living as though nothing is a miracle. But the other way seems far more exciting and a far happier way to live. Living like everything is a miracle. The amazing flocks of birds, the tiny froglets hopping in the grass, the eclipse that takes your breath away and leaves you having happy moments about the eclipse-shaped shadows of the light coming through the trees. I was doing happy dances that whole day. The utter wonder of life all around us. All miracles, all wonder, and not worrying about anyone and what anyone else thinks about our own giggles and fits of happiness. Everything is a miracle. There is wonder everywhere around us. We just have to orient ourselves to be able to notice it. Open our eyes to it and let it enter our souls. Look around. I promise that you'll find some.
As always, UUCB needs your gifts and support as we continue to make ours a vibrant and loving community that inspires spiritual growth, justice, and lives of integrity and service. We also hope you will continue to practice generosity with our Good Neighbor organizations. This month, we're sharing half of our offerings with the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity, supporting the good work they do in our wider community. Here is a short video provided by the organization.
Good morning. My name is Reverend Deborah Lee, and I'm the director of the Interfaith Movement for Human Integrity. We are a statewide interfaith network of 250 congregations and partner organizations, 1,300 faith leaders, and 250 formerly incarcerated and directly impacted immigrants who are working together to end the criminalization of people of color through our immigration and incarceration systems. We believe that every person is sacred across bars and borders. Your donation and support as a church helps us to close detention facilities. In 2018, you helped us bring to a close the West County Detention Facilities contract with Immigration and Customs and Enforcement to end the practice of detaining immigrants here in Contra Costa County. Last year, our organization, in collaboration with others, helped to pass a law in California that phases out private prisons and private for-profit detention facilities beginning in the year 2025. Your support helps fathers like Hugo, who is a long-term resident in this area. He's a carpenter and a father of three, fight to stay with his family and to fight against his deportation so that he can continue to be a father to his children. Your support has helped us to get over 56,000 signatures on his petition, to organize a legal and solidarity team, to garner media for his case. I'll be sharing with you a toolkit of holiday actions that you could take in the next few weeks to help stop his deportation, which is imminent. And most importantly, your support helps us to advocate together as a faith voice for visionary and inclusive immigration and criminal justice reforms. That is our hope and our vision for year 2021. So thank you in advance for your support. Thank you for helping us as a congregation to end detention and incarceration.
Offerings of any value are received with gratitude. More details on how to give electronically will appear on your screen as the offertory begins. Thank you. And now please join me in dedicating our offerings. We dedicate our offerings and ourselves to the mission of this congregation: to create loving community, inspire spiritual growth, and encourage lives of integrity, joy, and service. It's been so good to be together in praise and song today, even virtually. Before we prepare to shift to our virtual coffee hour on Zoom, I'd like to encourage you to stay informed about and involved in all that's going on in our congregation by exploring our website, uucb.org. Among other things, you can find a link in the news section to The Week Ahead, our weekly email newsletter, which contains a great list of upcoming activities. And as we prepare to leave worship service, here's just a quick announcement about personal theology. Next Sunday, December 13th at 9:20 a.m., Destiny Muhammad, a jazz and harp performer and composer, will present an unapologetic acknowledgement and honoring of the divinity of culture, creativity, and resilience manifest as the Black aesthetic experience, art, and worship. We hope you can join. See Zoom link in the week ahead. And now please join in singing our closing song, All Around the Child. The words will be on your screen.
Ancient story lived again, talk of longest night, birth of innocence and hope, kindles our delight.
Our closing words are by Marjorie Newlin Leeming. Remembering that the universe is so much larger than our ability to comprehend, let us go forth from this time together with the resolve to stop trying to reduce the incomprehensible to our own human-sized expectations, so that wonder, that sense of what is sacred, that sense of awe, so wonder can open our minds and light up our lives. May it be so. Blessed be.